Hey, my name's Director. Welcome to another very cool tutorial. In today's episode, rather than focusing on the filmmaking side of things, we're going to actually go ahead and take a look at Photoshop and some of the basic and common editing tasks that you'll be doing in Photoshop, whether for retouching images for your films or maybe you've got a side job as a photographer or you want to get into a side job as a photographer. So we're just going to show you some cool things. This will probably be a little bit longer tutorial, but stick around, we're going to have some fun. Let's go and take a look first at the images we're going to be using today. This is myself and a friend playing soccer here. We might be able to do some fun stuff with that. We're going to go ahead and take a look at figure out how to change this street sign to something else, maybe for a film or for a photograph. We're going to do a 2.5D shot with this one. We'll actually cut the fish out, fill in the background, throw it into After Effects, and do a really cool shot that I think you guys will enjoy. And then finally, we've got a shot here of my little sister taken on the 4th of July a couple years ago. And while it's a cool angle and stuff, I think there's definitely some room for improvement. So we'll go and take a look at that as well. Let's go and start with the soccer ball shot though first. And we will just go ahead and open with Photoshop. And here we go. One of the really cool features in Photoshop is called Content Aware. And if you click here underneath your magic wand tool, click and hold, you also have a quick selection tool, and this allows you to, as you can see, isolate parts of the images based upon color and pixel color. So I'm doing a pretty rough job right now, but that's alright. And then go up to there, and let's go ahead and shrink my thing down. I'm using the left bracket key to shrink it. A right bracket will make it bigger. And we'll get this foot. Cool, so that's the basic. Now we've got to go ahead and get rid of this extra stuff. If you press and hold Alt, you can see how it changes to a minus sign, and now I'm actually subtracting from the selection. So that's pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and just do that there. Hold in down here. And these are the low quality versions I got off the internet of the photos. For the sake of the tutorial, it'll help keep things going a lot faster. So as you can see, I'm just Alt clicking and dragging to clean up my selection here. Cool. And we would, for our purposes right now, we will go ahead and call that good. And once you've got it selected, there's a few things you can do. First, we can stick ourselves onto a new layer by pressing Control J or Command J on the Mac. And as you can see over here in your layers palette, it created a new layer. And if we solo it, it's got just us on it. So that's pretty nifty. Now if you look though, the edges are a little bit messed up, a little bit jagged, so we want to go and clean it up. So we'll just go ahead and go back to our original layer, go to Refine Edge, and now I can go ahead and try to smooth this out. And yeah, that's going to look a lot better. And we'll maybe feather it just a little bit. Cool, hit OK. And then if we Control J that, solo by shutting off the original layer, now we've got ourselves isolated and it's looking a lot smoother. And if we zoom back out, as you can see, we got that. So that's pretty cool. So what else can you do here with this content aware stuff? Well, check this out. Let's take the soccer ball. Maybe I don't like where that soccer ball is. Now, in the old days, you would go ahead and grab your lasso, select it, Control J it, move your selection, and then you go back to your clone stamp tool and go back onto the original background layer and start trying to clone out the image. That's a bad example right there. Maybe from up here. There you go. And try to clone it out like that, and then you go through and feather out the edges. Pain in the butt. I'm not digging the way that looks. So let's try a different way. Go ahead and unselect that. If you go down to your Band-Aid, there is what's called a healing brush, and underneath that we have a content aware move tool, and this is really, really cool. Check this out. If you go ahead and draw around something you want to move, and I know this isn't perfect, but we can clean that up later. You draw that and then click and drag on it. We can move the ball somewhere else. It looks like it fits pretty well right there. And then it fills in the background for me automatically. Isn't that awesome? It just, boom, like magic. It just disappeared. It filled it in perfectly, and now we've got the ball in a new location. So that's how that tool works like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at another shot. We'll go ahead and go back to our pictures, go to the next one. The street sign. Open with Photoshop. And we'll go ahead and zoom in to the image a little bit, right down there. There we go. So we could try to maybe, first thing we gotta do is, replace the text. We gotta clear it out and stuff. So maybe we go to our healing brush, spot healing brush, and we try to like paint out the letters. I don't know if that'd work or not. Nah, as you can see, it gets a little distorted because there's so much information. We could probably paint out street though. No, that didn't work either. So that means we gotta try another tactic. In this case, we'll use the clone stamp tool. It's pretty easy the way it works. Make sure you've got that one selected, not the pattern stamp, but the clone stamp. Go back over into your selection, press Alt, and choose where you want to sample from. And then from here, you can just start painting over it. And we'll go ahead and Alt again. And you just keep sampling different parts of that. You can see I messed it up right there, so then we'll just go and sample that. And now we've got a much larger selection here. Now another thing we could do is we could also select this part of the image. We'll go ahead and go up to the top here, refine the edge. Where is it? There it is. I just want to feather it so it blends a little bit better. It's a little too much feathering. There we go. Smooth it just a smidge. Hit OK. And now if we Control C to copy, Control V to paste, we've got a new layer. If we go to our Move tool, we can just clone that over. And we'll do it again. And this is just a little bit faster than cloning it all out by hand. You just work your way through until it's all covered up. And I would say that looks pretty good right there. Then we can go ahead and select our visible layers. I hold Shift, by the way, to do this multiple selection. Let me show you this again. Click on the top one, go down to the bottom, press and hold Shift and click it, and it selects those layers. We go up to Layer and Merge Layers, and it's going to merge just the selected ones. And now we've got our patch just on one layer there, so that works out pretty well. And as you can see, it's just the patch right there. So now let's go ahead and add our new text. We'll go to the text tool, and I'm going to call this Stars Avenue. And we need to make that bigger so we can actually see it. That'd be nice, huh? Let's try 24. Maybe go up to 36. Yeah, 36 is good. And we'll take Avenue, wherever that is. That should be over here. And we'll make that one quite a bit smaller. Drop that down to like 18. Perfect. Let's see how that fits. Drag this over, and that'll work out nicely. We also need to go ahead and match our font, give it more of a street sign font. So we'll go up to here, and that's looking pretty good. Again, we'll just try to get it close. We need to make it white. Go to our font color right here, make it white. There, now we're cooking. Now, a lot of people would leave it good here, but we need to make this fit in a little bit better, right? Now, we need to go ahead and add the distortion. If we were just to go up to Edit, Transform, we see our distortion perspective is all grayed out, and that's because this is still a text layer. So once we're happy with the text, we need to right-click on it and rasterize it. And now we can go Edit, Transform, Perspective. And then from here, it's just a matter of grabbing the corners and trying to make it all match up. Now, perspective, as you can see, does some really cool stuff like that. It almost creates like the illusion of 3D text. Now you got kind of a Star Wars look. You can twist it, do all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm actually going to go ahead, click out of there, hit Enter, And we'll use the distort tool instead. And this one allows us to actually drag your corners to where they need to be. Take that. Okay, hit enter. And then let's rotate it just slightly. So go edit, transform, rotate. Just trying to match my perspective lines. And that looks pretty good. So now as you can see, we've replaced it and made it Stars Avenue. Maybe we want to raise it up just slightly. If I use my selection tool with the layer selected, I can actually press up arrow to move it up one set. And that looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and zoom back out. Fit on screen. And there you go. So that's how you would go ahead and replace the street signs. Next. The 2.5D with the fish. Open in Photoshop. I'm going to do two things here. First, we need to go ahead and paint this out, and let's go ahead and try that quick erase tool one more time, see if that actually works in this case. And as you can see, that worked out quite nicely. We'll fix it right there, and we'll cover up the hole. So that was pretty short and sweet. And then we'll go ahead and use our actual selection tool here. And we'll select just the fish. And I want to make sure I get everything with him, including the tail right there. That's looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and refine edge. Make sure this is nice and clean. We'll just go ahead and smooth the edge a little bit. Hit OK. Control J it. Turn off that layer. Go back to our original, and now we got to go ahead and remove the fish from the image. And for that, I think we'll probably be best off with the clone stamp tool here. Let's go and make our stamp bigger. And we'll just go ahead and start cloning. Let's go ahead and feather our brush though. That'll just help it all blend in really nice. Now this shot was a nice shallow depth of field shot, so that'll actually help us out quite a bit. And remember, we're using Alt to clone out and select areas. And I got this little line going on right there, so we'll just kind of follow this thing down a little bit. Okay, that's looking good there. Let's go ahead. Get that. And we're almost done. I'm trying to go through this quick here for you guys. As you can see, as I start overlapping areas, the fish starts to appear again where I don't want him to be. That's all right, we can just click him out. And we'll give the illusion of this brighter area back there. And clone that out. And I would say that that's probably pretty good. I don't like this purple back there. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that. It's a little distracting. There we go. And we turn our fish back on. And now we're going to go File, Save. I'm going to save this on the desktop for now. We'll call this fish, save it as a Photoshop file. Hit Save, hit OK. Go into Adobe After Effects project, and we're going to go and import that piece of footage, which is on the desktop right there. And I want to import it not as footage, but as a composition. Hit Open. And import as a composition. I want editable layer styles. Yes. Hit OK. And now if we open up that composition, there's our fish. And as you can see, we've got the two layers, the fish layer and the background layer. And because it's now separated, we can actually do some really cool things. And this is an intro to 3D. I'm going to go ahead and go Layer, New, Camera. And we'll just leave it at the presets for now. Hit OK. OK. I'm going to make both of these background layers here. In fact, we'll go and rename these. Select the layer, press Enter, and you can rename it. And background's fine. And then go ahead and hit toggle switches or modes. This little cube looking icon will make it a 3D layer. So if we enable that for these two layers, they are now in 3D. Nothing has changed yet, but trust me, they're in 3D. I can now take my background layer, press P for position, and on the Z-axis, I can either move the background forward or I can move it backwards. I'm going to push it way far back here, like 2,000 pixels back. Yeah, right about there. Press S for scale. And I'm just going to scale this up back to its original size. So now, in our minds, nothing has changed, right? Right. We're going to take the fish, press P, and we're going to scale him back 1,000 pixels. And then I also want to go ahead and scale him back up. So now, if I take my camera and start zooming in and out, you can see we get some really cool things going on with parallax. If I zoom in closer, the fish will actually start to cover up. Watch how he starts to cover this post right here the closer we get to him. Because he's zooming at a different speed than the background because he was actually closer to the camera. Let's go ahead and reset this for now. Oops. Yeah, there we go. And let's go ahead and make these even better. P, we'll shove this back 5,000 pixels. And scale that back up. So you'll see this a lot in TV shows where they take like old photographs of stuff and you're like, how do they do that? And how'd they get the camera moved to do this kind of a thing? And well, this is how they do it. So we'll go and start the camera over here. We'll scale the background up even bigger. And then I'm going to set a position keyframe for that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll jump forward in time about 5 seconds. And we'll have zoom in. And then actually move over that way. And let's see what we get with that. So you can see he's now at the fish, as I render this out here, he's actually sitting there floating in 3D space. So you can get some really neat effects when you do this kind of a deal. Pretty cool. And then we'll now play that back at full speed. And you can see how that works. Pretty nifty. Cool, back to Photoshop. Last one, my little sister. Go ahead and open this in Photoshop. Okay. And there's a lot of things we're going to do. You can see my clone stamp. You can actually clone from other images because I still have the fish thing open. I could actually select the fish. This is kind of cool. Make sure he's selected. And then go in here and I can actually paint the fish into the image with my sister, even though he's on the other layer. So that's kind of neat. Anyway, get rid of him. Go back to my selection tool. So first things first, let's go ahead and make the color of this a little bit better. I'm actually going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And this is your levels adjustment where you basically control how the image looks. Clip that over there. And we want to create just some contrast here. We're going to go for like kind of a retro 1970s feel for this whole thing. Kind of grungy and stuff too. And then go back to Adjustments, Curves. We'll go to the red channel. We're going to boost it in the highs. And that's going to warm up her skin. And then we will go ahead and pull it out of the lows. Gives it kind of this teal look. We don't want to pull out too much. And we'll go to green and we'll add an overall green tint to it all. A little too much. There. Go back to the red. Add some more red into it. Right about there. Cool. So you can take it like that. And then we would go ahead and do a grunge overlay. So let's go ahead and go File, Open. I'm going to go into my libraries where my pictures are. I've got some textures, and some grunge textures, and let's go ahead and use this dirty blue glass. Go ahead and select it, Control C, go back to my sister, paste it. There's the grunge. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? Well, now we get to go ahead and play with the layer style, and you can just try some of these different ones here. Color burn, kind of cool, not quite what we're looking for. I'm just arrow keying down through them here until I find one that I like. Soft light's not bad. I think we'll use soft light in this case. And then we can go ahead and actually, scale the texture up and down. Transform, scale. And this will just create, smaller grunge patterns for us. So you can see we're getting really artsy now with it. And then now that we've got this overlay on, kind of lost some color in her skin, so we can go back to the image, adjustments, curves, back to the red, lock it off there, put some more red into just the highs, hit OK, and then go image, adjustments, maybe hue and saturation. And what's really cool is you can actually start rotating the colors of your image, do some psychedelic things with that. Something like this is like an ad you might see for like Old Navy or something. But we want to go and make this look nice, so we're actually going to select the reds, adjust their saturation, pop them up a little bit, and we'll do the same, not with the greens, with the yellows. Let's actually expand the yellows into the orange. There we go, that's looking better. And there you go, so you got a nice, much nicer looking shot than what we had before. If you remember what the original looked like, there was that, and now we're rocking with some cool art stuff. So anyway, that's my basic Photoshop tutorial, just showing you some of the cool things you can do in Photoshop. I'm El Director. Sorry it was a little bit longer, but hopefully you find it useful. We'll see you next time.